So welcome to the video. In this video I'm going to go through a slideshow that I put together for my fiance and one of her roommates to explain to them the process that I went through to create her ring and actually another ring for a friend. The process in total took about 4 years, including the time that I made the ring and also the holder for it. Um, this video itself is not filled with a bunch of other videos. It's a slideshow, and some of the pictures will be on the screen for quite a while, especially at the beginning. So I would encourage you to grab a cup of tea and just expect to kind of listen and enjoy the process as I go through it. It's a bit of a longer video. But if you have any comments or thoughts, then you're welcome to put them in the comments, and I might write back as long as there aren't too many of them. So enjoy. So, hallo, wir würden durch ein Ringebilder gehen und ich würde Theresa und Manuel zeigen, was ich über die Jahre gemacht habe. So, wenn ihr die Stimme hören, dann ist es Theresa.
Hallo.
Und Manuel.
Hallo.
Und ja, so. Sie würden mein Deutsch gleichzeitig korrigieren, aber das gehört dazu. Ich hoffe, dass ihr das genießt.
So eine Weile, oder?
Ja.
Okay, so diese Geschichte hat
So this story started when I was 16 years old. I was taking a material science course, an engineering course, and a German course. I didn't know at the time why, but I felt like they were very important, like I just sensed that. And during the material science class, we made silver rings, sterling silver rings. And at the time, I just felt like, this is cool, but I would also like to make a ring for my future wife, specifically an engagement ring.
Und damals habe ich gedacht, ich würde gerne für meine zukünftige Frau eine Ringe machen. Viele Jahre später, das war als ich
So many years later, after that point when I was 16, I moved to Texas for school, and then I moved to California. And at that point, I was around 23 years old. And I was telling a good friend of mine about this idea, just kind of as an offhand comment. And I was driving home. I felt like the Holy Spirit, so God's Spirit, just said to my heart, no, do it yet, now.
Habe ich so gespürt, dass der Heilige Geist, so Gottes Geist, sagt mein Herz, nein, mach es jetzt. Also bin ich in Bibliothek
So the next day, I went to the library and just started refreshing my memory about the process, the lost wax casting, what to do. And the interesting thing was that when I went home, I believe it was on the same day, my neighbor knocked on the door, and he was carrying some equipment to go gold panning with. I thought that was very interesting. He wanted to show me what he had done, and he'd been gold panning for many years. So I just asked him if I could go with him sometime. So we ended up going together to gather gold in the Sierra Nevadas in California. So the gold came from Alaska and California, the two places.
Damals nicht, warum so plötzlich dieses Lust hat, mir sowas zu zeigen. Aber
yeah, he didn't know why he wanted to show me it at that point, that day he came, but yeah, it was just like he just had this desire all of a sudden.
Wir sind in Berge gegangen und haben ein bisschen Gold gefunden.
So when I went with him, we did find some gold. We didn't find much. It's about $60 worth, enough to pay for gas. But after that, I kind of talked with him, and it turned out that he hadn't done anything with the gold because he was afraid someone would take advantage of him. And so he had just gathered it and kept it for many years. I then suggested that we do a project together.
Aber er vertraut mich.
Since he had the gold, I had the experience. I could make something.
Und
and he trusted me to do something with it.
So, diese war ein interessanter Prozess, weil es war, ich erkläre das gleich. Er war ein Pastor, aber irgendwie habe ich gespürt, dass
So something interesting about the situation. He was a pastor, but I just sensed something was kind of off.
Etwas habe ich gespürt, auf jeden Fall.
Yeah.
Ich zeige mehr davon. Also so, ich habe für ihn gerne dieses Ring gemacht und
so I enjoyed making this ring for him.
Das weiterzumachen.
Spent a lot of time in prayer for him too during the
ich habe
process.
so angefangen mit einem Signatring für ihn.
So I began to make him a signet ring.
Ein Segel im Wachs. So
a signet ring you would use to seal something. You specifically pour wax over it, and then you press the form in it. And when it hardened, someone could know if the seal was broken because the wax would be broken. This obviously has something to do with the identity, because the ring is, or the signet ring is related to your house or to your character or whoever you are.
So, wenn man diesen Prozess macht es erst aus Wachs.
So,
man kauft diese Wachs.
This process begins with a wax model or a wax form, which you carve out. When I first started, I started doing it with screwdrivers and knives and whatever I had around the house. I put his name, initials in it.
So, und kommt aus Guam. Es ist eine Insel
he came
im
from Guam.
Meer. Oder nee,
in the Pacific Ocean.
Pazifik, danke. Und er ist nach den USA. So, ich habe versucht, die Ringe so mit dieser Form zu machen, so wie die Steine.
So they're in Guam. They've discovered these stones called the latte stones. They were originally built to hold up large houses. For chieftains and so forth.
Von Hesekiel, das ist ein Buch in der Bibel. Hat den Thron Gottes gesehen.
And the form that I used was based off those stones.
Und habe versucht, so
the ring for my future wife, I was inspired by Ezekiel, the start where he has a vision of the throne of God. So it was like fire surrounding a throne, and I had left an open space for a stone. I began it in May.
2013 war es.
So it began in 2013, May or so.
Man sieht diese Nummern darauf. Diese Ringe, ist es so, dass man kann die Ringe
So this tool is used to size the rings.
Damals konnte ich nicht wissen, wie groß ein Finger meine zukünftige Frau war.
I didn't know how big the ring for my future wife should be, but I just prayed and took a guess.
Man sieht es mit meinem kleinen Finger dort. Meine kleine
My
Werkstatt.
small finger, pinky finger to guess.
Hier ist, wo ich die Ringe Gold gegossen habe.
So I poured the gold at this place, workshop in Santa Rosa.
Es ist so ein Ofen.
There's an oven.
Wie nennt man dieses Ding hier?
It's like a dental, and plus there's a dental piece that you use to spin the form of the gold to push the gold into the mold.
Und man macht den Ringe in eine Base mit anderem Wachs fest.
So you fasten the form of the ring into a base. You melt it onto the little stem.
Wie nennt man das? So eine Metalldose sozusagen.
You put a metal form over the top of that, and you pour a plaster into it, and you shake out the bubbles.
So, dann habe ich so ein Material reingegossen.
Yeah, and she was saying here that it was gypsum. I'm not totally sure that it was, but something along that lines.
Ja, genau, Gips oder sowas. Und dann war es so gefüllt. Und man macht es im Ofen und dann
you harden it, then you bake it, and the wax pours out where the stem was, and including the wax form, you're left with a cavity. And I made a mix of gold and copper and silver, because the gold that I had was about 91% pure, and it's super soft for a gold, for a ring, too soft. So I brought it down to about a 14 karat, which is a pretty good. I figured that was good enough for a signet ring and also for the durability of the ring I made for my future wife. And I used an X-ray device at work to check the compositions, and I was allowed to do that.
Weil dann ist es harter und man kann das besser tragen, ohne das zu kratzen oder zu stören.
With a harder ring, you don't scratch it a bunch, and if there are stones that hold it better, it's just harder.
Es ist ein Brenngerät.
So I used a torch to melt down the materials. It's acetylene oxygen torch. So you melt the material, and then the arm there, it swings around and with centrifugal force pushes the material inside the mold.
Acetylene und Sauerstoff. Ja. So, wo man setzt dieses Form dort rein, schmelzt im Gold, und dann hat so eine Art von Feder dort rein, und dann spinnt es sehr schnell rum und schiebt das Gold rein, so dass es fließt in Form rein, wo diese Form von Ring raus oder früher war. Leider war es nicht genug Material.
Unfortunately, it wasn't enough material.
Dieses App, was wir benutzt
app
haben,
that we used
hat falsch gerechnet.
Calculated it false.
Aber
and so
es war sehr traurig, weil
it was really sad because I lost about 5 months or so of work.
Oder 4 Monate oder so. Oder 3, ich vergesse jetzt. Es war in Oktober.
So I had poured them in October.
April, auf jeden Fall, ihr versteht.
Or cast them.
So, es war gut, aber nicht fertig.
Yeah, so the rings were, they came out okay, except for the fact that there was not enough material. And clearly, as you can see, the ring for my future wife was incomplete because I had left a space open at the top. So once the wax is gone, it's over. There's no more mold. You can't do it. So I was disappointed. I experienced a lot of frustration in this project, but it just kept going.
So, aber damals habe ich entschieden, okay, ich mache das richtig gut.
So I decided to just do it really well the next time around.
Habe gute Werkzeuge dafür gekauft. Ich habe online für Wände gesucht und habe die Steine, die dort im Guam sind, sie heißen Latte-Steine.
I looked for the profiles of the stones online from the latte stones there in Guam.
Kleiner gemacht.
And so then I sketched them or traced them and then scaled them down so that I could put them on the ring. So I cut out the shapes.
Und dieser Stein hier,
and then I glued them onto the wax form and then cut around those shapes to form the profiles of the stones. Now some of the stones are incomplete, like half of the top is broken, so I made it so that they were mirrored where there were parts that were broken.
Mit Symmetrie.
Yeah, so they're symmetrical.
Weil die ursprüngliche Stein war gebrochen, aber ich habe das mit Symmetrie komplett gemacht. Und dann habe ich die Formen rausgeschnitten und über den Wachsform dazu das geklebt. Und überall und dann gefressen oder geschnitten. Gefräst, danke. Und dann, so ich habe 7 Steine um es rum, so viele kleine Steine.
So I put 7 stones around the band. The largest stone was the signet portion
das war
of it.
für diese Freund von mir. Und dann ein So, wenn
And then I put an
alles
8th stone
rausgeschnitten
inside the
habe, dann habe
7th
ich die letzte
stone.
Stein dort im Mittel gesetzt.
And then I
Und das
put
war
his
so ganz wichtig.
initials
Was ich
in there.
rausgefunden habe, war, dass er schwul war und dass er in diesem Leben gelebt hat und hat einen Partner.
So what I found out was, even though as a pastor,
Und für mich
he
war es
was
schwierig,
living
weil
in a homosexual
einerseits war
relationship.
es so, dass ich habe gesehen, dass es nicht gut war. Die Bibel sagt, dass
Yeah, so the Bible clearly says
so
that that's
nicht,
not something that
okay,
the Bible says that that's
wie
sin.
heutzutage gesagt ist.
And yet,
dass
during
die
this
Bibel sagt, dass
process,
es
I
nicht
just
okay
felt like
ist.
the
Aber
Lord was just really extending His
gleichzeitig
hand
habe
of
ich gesehen, dass
grace.
es
I
war,
felt
als
like
ob Gott
I had the
ihm
picture of a kid on top of
eine
a garbage pile
Identität
and
als ein
who had
Sohn
gathered a
geben
bunch of
wird.
things to build a little
Und
house.
es war sehr, sehr, er hat
And then
gewusst, dass
a man
ich
comes
nicht
and
so
tells him
okay
that he
war,
has
so,
a home
dass
and a
ich
family for him.
Homosexualität
But
akzeptiert
it's
habe,
pretty
aber
hard
ich
for
habe
this
ihn
kid because all he's
akzeptiert.
known
Und,
is this
und ja,
heat.
wir hatten viele Gespräche darüber, aber es war interessant. Es war niemals so
We had
feindlich
many
oder was
conversations
auch immer,
about homosexuality
aber
and
so
so forth,
friedvoll. Wir
but
haben
none of the
gute Freundschaft
conversations
gehabt.
were
Und mein
hostile in any
Gefühl war,
way.
dass Gott
They were always friendly, and he knew where I
hat mir
stood. He
erzählt
disagreed with
von
me,
vielen
but he
Geschichten,
knew where
wo
I stood.
viel Schmerz
And
in seinem
you know,
Leben,
I just,
nicht mit
you know, although I don't
Homosexualität
accept
oder so,
the
dass er
lifestyle
einfach
and that
geschmerzt in seinem Leben
the
gelebt hat.
that
Und
choice. Now I
irgendwie
understand it's very
fühlte ich, als
complicated,
ob
very
so
complicated
ein
issue,
Kind
but
auf ein Müllhaus
in
war
any case, I
und
just was there, and I
versuchte,
just
ein
felt like the
Haus
Lord
dort
was just
zu
extending
bauen.
His grace.
Und dann
And
kam ein
so
Pater
this
dort
ring,
und
the
hat
idea is
versucht, ihn
that
zu
the 7th stone
überreden, dass
represents Christ, and the 8th stone represents
für
Him,
ihn was
that
viel
He would find His
Besseres hat.
identity inside of His Father who loves
Zeigt
Him.
einfach seine Liebe,
And
sodass
so I spent a good
das
amount of
Wissen,
time
dass
just praying for him
vertrauen
and
könnte.
just
Also habe ich so
anyways, it was a really
so,
good
ich habe diese
experience.
7. Steine als Bild von
ja.
Christus gemacht und einen 8. Steine dort im Mittel gemacht und dann habe ich so seine Buchstaben dort reingemacht und ein paar andere Sachen gemacht,
so
dass
if it's not obvious, the letters
dass seine
they're in reverse, and
innerhalb
they are his initials, and they represent his identity found inside of Christ.
Okay. Ja. Ja, so, und das ist ein Gold wieder. Und das ist ein Ring, die zweite Ring, was ich für meine zukünftige Frau gemacht habe.
So I made
Dieses Projekt war nicht so einfach.
The second ring was for my wife.
Es war
really
ganz
difficult.
schwierig.
I found it frustrating. I didn't know exactly what to do for the design. It didn't feel as inspired as I did for my friend's ring. But I just kept going at it, and step by step, I just tried to, just put something together and prayed about it as I went.
Habe ein ganzes Jahr daran gearbeitet.
So I took another year to do this.
Dass alles ist sehr schnell in einer kurzen Zeit passiert.
So in a very short period of time, it became clear that I was going to move to Germany, about a 2-week period. And I got permission from the place in Santa Rosa to do another casting. So literally 2 days before I went on my way to Germany, I finally cast the rings again. And it worked this time around. Or that time around.
2 Tage bevor ich nach Deutschland auf meinem Weg war, habe ich die Ringe gegossen und geschmolzene Metall reingegossen. Und das war ein Produkt.
So they came out well.
Wenn sie rauskommen, gibt's
of course, there's an oxide layer that I needed to clean off. So I used a lemon juice. I boiled it in a pot. That's good enough. Just a really light acid to clean it. And of course, I polished them.
Ich habe auch gleichzeitig mit einem Ringhalter, was ich dir
So I also began on a holder for the ring.
Und das war ein Ring von dieser Freund von mir.
So that was the ring for the
sehr großer Typ.
Mine. He's a big guy.
Aber es war so, man sitzt es auf dem Tisch und es geht klunk, weil es
Yeah, it's
so
so heavy
schwer
that you could
war.
just hear it as it hit. It was 45
Aber er war
grams of
sehr cool.
material.
Er hat
It was
es
very
sehr,
heavy.
er hat sich sehr
He was
gefreut.
very
Und was
happy
sehr
about it.
interessant war, als ich auf dem Weg
Something that was interesting when I
mit
was on
ihm
the
zu
way there.
treffen war,
There was more details of this
ähm,
story, but I'm not
ein
going to share
paar
them all here.
Sachen haben passiert. Ich will nicht alles sagen
You can ask me in person,
jetzt,
but
aber eine
I just felt
interessante
very
Sache
clearly
war,
like
dass
I
auf
wasn't
dem
supposed
Weg
to
habe ich
bring up
so
the
von Gott
topic of
gespürt, dass ich gar
homosexuality or
nicht
anything like
über
that. Just
dieses
spend some time with him.
Thema von Homosexualität oder sowas sprechen soll. Und wir haben gar nicht davon gesprochen.
And we didn't talk about
Irgendwie
it.
war es einfach so, dass Gott hat etwas Besonderes für
Yeah, and I
ihn.
just felt like God had something special
Ja,
for
es
him.
war einfach eine gute Zeit.
It was
Wir
a very
haben
good
diese
time,
Zeit
very
genossen
enjoyable.
und,
And he gave me the
ja, auf jeden
leftover
Fall. Er hat
gold
mir
that wasn't
ein bisschen
used, and
von
he
dem
took some
Rest
of it
von
too,
Gold,
or
was
some
wir
of the
nicht
parts from
benutzt
the
haben,
project.
gegeben. Er hat einen Rest von was sie von den
So I took
Teilchen,
that
die übrig von der
gold from
Ringmachprozess,
nature that was left over that
selber
he'd given me
genommen. So, ich habe
on
ein
my
bisschen
trip to
Weichgold
Germany.
ja, nach Deutschland gebracht.
Das sah schon cool aus.
Ja, das war cool. Sehr schwer. So, das war. Ja. Ja, so die Ringe von dieser Freund von mir war 45 Gramm. Die Ringe für ungefähr 24. 45 ist schon viel. Das ist ja zwei. Mehr
Interesting
als
story. I
zwei
didn't say in
Pounds,
German,
aber es
but
war
this
nicht
friend letter
Gold,
said he needed
14
bodyguards to carry the ring.
war es. Ja, lustig. Dieses Weichgold. Also, ich bin nach Deutschland gekommen mit diesem Gold. Hatte nicht vor, ich wollte nicht damit machen, aber
I didn't have any
ich
plans
hatte
for the
kein
gold.
Bargeld da.
I didn't want to make
es
more
war
rings,
so, dass
but I
ich,
didn't have any cash,
ja, dass
and
ich,
my
mein
debit
mein
card
Bankkarte
wouldn't work because it didn't
funktioniert
have a
nicht.
chip.
Und
And everything here in Germany
ich
is
kein Bargeld
cash.
hatte, weil wir
So,
nicht so viel Bargeld in den USA
I decided as a kind of like a
und
prophetic
habe
investment
entschieden,
and just as
dieses
something I
Gold
needed to do
zu
to sell the
verkaufen.
gold.
Und es war ein bisschen traurig, aber ich habe das alles
I was
fertig
a bit sad about it,
Ja,
but I
was
also knew that
Wichtiges,
this time in Germany
dort,
was very
für
important. I
meine
didn't know
Zeit
how
in
long it was going to
Deutschland
be, but
gesehen. Dort hier in Deutschland was zu
so yeah, I
investieren.
looked for a shop where I could sell it,
Dieses Weichgold wieder.
and finally found one where I
Also
felt
habe
they
ich
were
einen Laden
honest.
gefunden und die erste, ja.
Gave me about
Ja,
85%
das
of the
solltest du
market
kennen,
value.
weil es war
Just
so
pretty decent.
ja, eine Woche unter, oder ein bisschen unter einer Woche nach
Yeah,
ich
so
nach
a
Deutschland
little under
kam.
1 week after I moved to Germany is when I sold the this gold. So that's when
So,
I talked to the first person there,
ich habe einen
and they
Laden
couldn't speak much
besucht,
English, and so I ended
wo
up
ich
talking
dieses
to
Gold,
her boss,
verkaufen könnte. Und
which was
ich habe
very
ihr
interesting.
jemand ehrlich,
I sold
besucht.
it,
So, ich
and
habe
then I may say much a little later, but actually
Laden
4 years later, I walked into
die
church,
erste Frau, mit wem ich
sat
gesprochen
down,
habe,
and the person on my
die
right, I
so
started
viel
talking to her, and it
Englisch,
turns
also
out
habe
she
ich,
was the one
mit
I
der
first
Chefin
talked
gesprochen.
to when I
Das
sold my
habe
gold,
ich
which is interesting
verkauft.
because
Sie
now,
mussten
of
das
course,
erst
I'm
in
engaged to
dieses
her.
kleine Stück
So it was
schmelzen.
funny that
Also
less than a week
hatte ich
after I
ein
moved here
bisschen
to
Bargeld.
Germany,
Das ist
I
ein
met my
wichtiger Punkt.
future wife, although at the
Für
time I
später.
didn't know that, and I actually didn't meet her again until 4 years, and then I sat next to her in church, completely randomly.
So, ich habe angefangen, wieder mit dieser Ringhalter zu machen. In Hesekiel spricht es über den
So I
Thron
began
Gottes.
with
Es
this,
wird von Lapis
the holder for the
Lazuli,
ring, and
gelegt.
I was inspired from
Blausteine
by
Und
Ezekiel,
das
and
war
it talks about
interessant,
lapis
weil ich habe
lazuli
gedacht,
being
oh, ich
thrown.
mache Wolken unter, weil
So
ja,
I thought maybe I'd
Himmel,
make
Gottes
clouds
Thron und so weiter.
underneath
Aber
it,
irgendwie
but
funktioniert das
the
nicht.
clouds just didn't look
Und dann
good
war
and
ich im
just weren't working.
Gebetshaus.
And I was in the house of prayer here in Freiburg.
Es funktioniert nicht mit Wolken, weil ich habe das nicht gemögt. Es sieht nicht
I
gut
didn't
aus.
like the
Irgendwie
clouds,
mockt. Es geht nicht.
but when I was praying,
Also ich war im Gebetshaus und habe
I
gebetet und dann
opened my
war es
Bible to
so, meine
Psalms,
Bibel geöffnet und da
and
liest es
it
im
says
die
that
Psalmen, dass Gott
God
über
is
die
or
Wellen,
sits enthroned over the waves.
thront.
And so then I decided to do waves on the bottom of this,
Ja, über die
so to speak, holder slash
Wellen.
throne.
Ja. Also habe ich entschieden, Wellen zu machen.
Yeah, I covered the clay waves with an
ich habe das
epoxy.
erst aus Stoff gemacht.
So I made the waves out of clay. I put the last piece of lapis in the middle.
Und dann nachher haben Weiße auf dem Spitze, weil ich habe Epoxy darüber gemacht, so dass es stark wird.
Yeah, I put the epoxy over it so it would be strong.
Weiß gemacht und die blaue so Farben gemacht.
And I painted the waves, and then all the rough spots where the epoxy was over, I put little white bits so that it looked like froth on the waves. It turned out really great. Put a Herkimer diamond, which is a crystal. I got it in New York on my motorcycle trip, and I chose it because it has a rainbow in it from a fracture. And eventually, during this whole process, it took the shape of a heart. And where I sit the ring on, it extends from one of the stones, which is a representation of Jesus. And so it's kind of interesting that the heart is in this. And Ezekiel talks about a sea of crystal.
Ist in eine Form von ein Herz gemacht, was sehr interessant war. Hier ist ein Bild, ich sag einfach in diese kurze Geschichte, es war, ich bin in middle der Nacht aufgewacht.
So when I woke up in the middle of the night and looked across the room and I saw, I imagined a rose being in the window. There was no rose, but then I just felt like God said to my spirit, you know, just as a young man would give a young lady a rose to show that he was thinking of her. So that's how much I think about you. And so it was interesting because the next day I came home from work and the neighbor had brought a single rose over, and I just felt like God was confirming that that was from him, just that he thinks about me, and it's just pretty awesome story. And so I use these colors as an inspiration for a softer portion that would hold the waves in the ring and everything like that. Kind of as a protective case.
Farben hat mir so gefallen und ich habe das teilweise für diese Ringhalle benutzt. Ich habe versucht, es aus Feuer, aus Alufoil.
So I tried a few things. I tried to make some fire from aluminum foil and put or some type of a foil and put material over, but it just wasn't working. It was looking really dumb. But anyways, I ended up sewing together this piece, and through the process I was also inspired by the fact that not everything in nature has colors that flow together very slowly. It's strange, but it was hard for me to be creative in parts because there can be many ideas, critiques. But just to see a painted painted Indian blanket, that flower just inspired me. Oh yeah, sometimes in nature the colors are sudden, so I just felt free to kind of do whatever, and that kind of gave me the freedom to just move forward with that portion. And again, all of that comes after time in prayer, and a lot of frustration sometimes. But
alles so gleich sein muss. Das ist wichtig. So, dann habe ich dieses Ding gemacht mit Weichstoff dort rein, so dass die ganze Form.
Yeah, so put cotton inside of the. I initially made it like a sock, but then folded it around so it looks like fire coming up around the bone.
Keine Federn, sondern.
So it's soft and it protects everything inside of it. It has a little latch.
Es ist so wie Feuer. Ja, die Farben. Netter Bild von Regenbogen. Ich habe diese Draht benutzt.
I used the wire, like lightning, which also surrounds the throne of God. And then I put a type of silicone. It's actually not silicone, it's something else. But I put some of that over the screws and then painted that, so it looks like fire and then lightning emanating from the fire. I have a lot of sketches of this stuff before I actually went forward with it, but I didn't include these photos.
So geht es. Und dann habe ich die Steine gefunden.
Then I looked for the stones, and that was a long process. They were inspired by Isaiah, where it says that God set the stones for Israel in turquoise and in rubies and in sapphires. Different translations say different things, but In any case, I used that, and I also the idea of the attributes of God as a Father and His Son and His Spirit, and yeah. Again, ask me in person if you have more questions about that. There's a lot of time that went into that. A lot of stories trying to find those stones. But the Paraíba was interesting because I had a specific color in my head. And I was inspired by a tourmaline that I saw. Somehow it wasn't the right color, but I ended up looking online and finding the right color. It's called a Paraíba. It's kind of a rare form of tourmaline, and so I purchased one. And the sapphire has little flecks in it that make it look like stars, kind of like the lapis. So it looks like stars in a blue sky.
Wie Sterne im blauen Himmel raussieht.
The red stone, the spinel, is a stone that forms at the same time as ruby, and but it's more brilliant, and it's actually rarer, but not as many people know about it, so it's actually a little less expensive. Maybe someday it'll be more. Incidentally, the crown jewels actually contain a spinel and not a ruby, so that's going to give you the history. It wasn't until later that they discovered that they were two different stones.
Paraíba, eine Art von Tourmaline, gefunden. Saphir, man sieht die Teilchen dort rein, obwohl sie in Diesellicht nicht strahlen.
So when we were doing this recording, we wanted to shut down the recording because so to respect the roommates there. So.
Wächst, aber viel seltener in eine größere ist und viel schöner, finde ich. Es strahlt mehr. So die 3 Steine. Es kommt dann von Jesaja, wo es sagt, wo Gott Israel getröstet.
Yeah, again, I'm just talking about the portion of Isaiah where it talks about God comforting Israel.
Steine mit ähnlichen Farben.
Oh, storm-tossed one, something like that. You can Google it.
Wieder aufbauen wird. Ja, Spinal, es erinnert mich an Jesus. Das erinnert mich an
Spinal reminds me of Jesus, the green one on his God's Spirit, and then the blue on the Father.
Ja. Und dann sind sie reingesetzt.
I set the stones. I had someone set them.
Ja, das ist es. Und dann habe ich dieses Stück gespeichert und das habe ich auf dem Anhänger.
So the little piece of gold there, I saved it and for a pendant that I made, and I'll put another video up eventually to describe that project.